If the power went out tonight and never came back on, you'd have 72 hours, max, before your neighborhood turns hostile. That's not a guess. That's straight from DHS modeling and FEMA's 2023 contingency breakdown. Day 1, empty shelves. Day 2, fights at gas stations. Day 3, kicked indoors. And if you think law enforcement's coming to help, you're already behind. Because in most major U.S. cities, emergency response drops by 87% during grid failures lasting over 48 hours. That's when the looters stop running and start organizing. They form crews, mark houses, and take over entire streets. So if you're not ready, right now, to defend your home like it's the last piece of stability you've got, you won't last the week. Let's break down the 5 things you need to do fast before looters target your home, starting from number 5. Fortify your perimeter before they even notice you have one. Listen closely, because this is the part almost nobody prioritizes until it's already too late. Right now, before any sirens fade, before the power grid hiccups, before that first abandoned shopping cart shows up on your block like a bad omen, you need to lock down your perimeter tighter than a vault. And I'm not talking about Hollywood-style barricades with razor wire and sandbags stacked like you're re-enlisting for Fallujah. I'm talking about fast, invisible, instantly effective fortification that tells any looter with half a working brain cell, this house isn't worth the injury. Most people don't realize that in the early phases of civil breakdown, looters aren't actually looking for a fight. They're looking for frictionless access. According to FEMA's 2023 Urban Threat Assessment, 78% of looters choose targets based on zero visible resistance. Zero. Not low. Zero. Meaning if they think they can walk in, they will. Anything above walk in forces them to reconsider. And everything from your porch light to your trash can placement becomes part of that calculation. Start with your yard, because that's the first boundary they'll cross. Trim every bush and hedge down to 3 feet or less. Law enforcement has known for decades that criminals rely on shrubs and fence corners to hide their approach. And studies from UNC's Crime Institute showed burglars avoid houses with clear sightlines more than any other factor, including cameras. Next, harden the points they'd use to pry their way in. Doors get reinforced with $20 door jammers or strike plates rated above $1,000 lbs of force. Windows get security film, not the cheap stuff, the 8mm plus impact film used in hurricane zones. It won't make your windows bulletproof, but it will stop the glass from collapsing inward, which turns a smash and grab into a 2-5-minute struggle. Most looters don't wrestle with obstacles for more than 20 seconds, let alone minutes. And then comes the trick most preppers never think about: sound traps. A simple line of gravel along the walkway, old cans strung loosely behind your gate, even dry leaves intentionally mounded under your windows. They create noise that breaks the looter's biggest advantage: surprise. In multiple post-disaster case studies, including Hurricane Ida and the Mexico City blackout, criminals abandoned attempts the moment they made noise they didn't expect. Because noise means attention, and attention means risk. So before anything kicks off, you want your perimeter to send a message, not "come get me," not "I've got supplies," just "this will take effort." Loud, risky, time-consuming effort. And trust me, when the wolves are circling the neighborhood looking for the easiest meal, that alone puts you 10 steps safer than 90% of the people on your block. 4. Turn your lights off and your surveillance on. Now I want you to think about this. The moment the lights go out for real, not for an hour, not for a weather hiccup, but for good, you're going to witness something most Americans have never experienced: real darkness. Not suburban glow, not moonlight filtered through a street lamp. I mean pitch black silence. And that's when the predators come out. But here's the catch. They're not dumb. The ones walking around on day 3 with a crowbar and a dead stare? They're not breaking into anything that looks watched. Which is why your house needs to look like it's abandoned while it's secretly watching everything that moves. This is what I call the shadow war, and if you want to win it, you need to be invisible and all-seeing at the same time. Let's start with visibility on your terms. That means cutting every single visible light source from the inside. Blackout curtains aren't just a prepper fantasy, they're a necessity. In fact, during the bombings of London, Entire districts were fined for one candlelight through a keyhole because they knew light equals target. You need thick thermal blocking curtains. If you can't buy them, you improvise. Thick blankets, heavy-duty trash bags duct taped over windows, foam boards wedged into window frames. You layer them, and then, this is critical, you test them. Go outside after dark, walk the perimeter, and look at your own home like a predator would. If you see any light, any shadow, you fix it. Because if you can see it, they can see it. But just because you go dark doesn't mean they should. This is where surveillance becomes your silent superpower. And no, I'm not talking about $3,000 security systems or satellite-linked motion sensors. I'm talking about smart, off-grid, low-power surveillance you can rig in a weekend. Solar-powered trail cams with IR triggers. They're meant for deer, but catch people just fine. Place them facing access points, gates, walkways, driveways. They're cheap, they work in complete darkness, and they don't need Wi-Fi. Add passive infrared motion sensors with remote alarms. Some even hook into old-school walkie-talkies for silent trip alerts. And here's one most folks have never thought of: triangulated mirrors. A small mirror on the inside edge of a window, angled just right, can show you your front yard from 20 feet away without ever exposing your face to the glass. In urban combat training, that's called line-of-sight masking, and it works just as well when your neighborhood goes feral. You want to know who's walking past your yard. You want to know who's watching you. Because in this new world where night hides intentions and police aren't coming, information is everything. Let them walk past your house thinking it's dead inside, cold, lifeless. Meanwhile, you know what shoes they were wearing, what hand they used to test the doorknob, and how many of them were dumb enough to light a cigarette near your fence. That's the shadow war. You don't win it with lights and bravado. You win it in silence, with sight. And the earlier you start building that system, the more prepared you'll be when the night turns dangerous. 3. Hide what you have, guard what you need, and never let anyone guess the difference. Here's where people mess up. Even preppers who've got a year's worth of food and water stored under their floorboards. They make the mistake of looking prepared. And when the looters start scouting for homes to hit, the houses that look like they've got supplies, they go straight to the top of the list. Doesn't matter how many guns you have. If your house says, "We planned ahead," it's like a neon sign that says, "Come take our stuff." Because once desperation spreads past day 4, they're not just looking for valuables anymore. They're looking for sustainability. Food, fuel, water, power. If it looks like you've got it and they don't, you become a target no different than a store. So here's the truth most people miss. Concealment isn't just about keeping things out of sight. It's about crafting the illusion that you have nothing worth taking. You want your house to look like it was already looted. Curtains half drawn, maybe even broken. A garbage bin tipped on its side in the driveway. A random shirt left hanging on the porch rail, weathered and faded. It's theater. And the more convincing your stage, the safer your supplies. In fact, behavioral studies during the Venezuela blackout crisis showed that homes appearing already ransacked were skipped by looters nearly 83% of the time. Why? Because when it's lawless outside, no one wants to waste time breaking into an empty shell. And then there's what's inside. If you're still storing your long-term supplies in the kitchen pantry or all your food buckets in one visible closet, you're begging to lose them in one sweep. You need to split them up. Create multiple caches, false floorboards, hollowed walls, think in layers. Some food in the attic, some under furniture, some behind drywall panels. Diversify storage, just like you diversify income. So if one source gets hit, you're not done. Same with water. Don't keep it all in jugs. Fill your bathtub and seal it with a plastic liner. Use water bricks under beds, refill old soda bottles, and stash them behind insulation panels or under staircases. Power is another giveaway. You've got solar? Good. But if that inverter is humming or your windows glow even faintly at night, they'll know. So you need to learn electrical discipline. Run battery-powered lanterns inside cardboard box diffusers. Use DC-only setups where possible. Avoid noise-producing appliances. A generator should be buried behind sandbags. Run only when masked by ambient noise, like during rain or distant chaos, and have its exhaust disguised with a heat-diffusing pipe and charcoal scrubber. Yes, it's that serious. Because a running generator might as well be a dinner bell in the apocalypse. This is chess, not checkers. You're playing to not look like you're playing at all. And the moment they suspect you've got resources and you're trying to hide them, you've lost the advantage. You're not invisible anymore. You're interesting. And in a lawless world, interesting gets you killed. So don't just hide your stuff. Hide the fact that you have anything worth hiding. That's how you stay off the list. 2. Build a human firewall. Who knows what you've got, and who will talk when they're desperate? Here's a brutal truth that gets overlooked in 90% of survival plans. In a true collapse, your biggest threat may not be a stranger. It may be someone who already knows you. A cousin who remembers you mentioned a pantry full of freeze-dried meals. A neighbor who saw your solar setup during better times. That quiet guy from church you once helped with car trouble and who knows you like prepping. In an SHTF scenario, loose lips aren't just dangerous, they're fatal. Because information doesn't just leak, it spreads. And when desperation kicks in, even good people will sell you out for a can of beans. This is why your social footprint is just as important as your physical perimeter. Let me say this plainly. You must control who knows what and what they think they know. Pre-collapse. You need to go back through your own mental inventory. Who have you talked to about prepping? What photos have you posted online? Did you ever show off your supplies on Instagram or in a YouTube comment section? Because if your name is attached to prepper and someone connects that dot after day 3 of a grid-down situation, they might just come knocking with friends. And if they've got nothing to lose, they'll be persuasive in ways you're not prepared for. According to the Rand Corporation's 2024 breakdown on post-disaster urban dynamics, up to 60% of confrontational home invasions during prolonged infrastructure failure involved prior knowledge or relationships. That's not fiction. That's documented human behavior. It means that before any collapse, you need to start scrubbing your profile, socially and digitally. Stop talking about prepping outside trusted circles. Pull old social media posts. Practice what intel professionals call information starvation. Deny the world your patterns, habits, and capabilities. The less they know, the less they can weaponize against you. Now, post-collapse, that's where it gets even trickier. You've got to manage perception actively. Maybe your lights are off. Maybe your yard looks looted. But what if someone you know knows better? What if they remember you were the guy with a water filtration system and a backup generator? You have 2 options: mislead or prepare for confrontation. Misdirection could mean staging scenes, an empty pantry left open accidentally, a loud argument staged about running out of food. Or it might mean a tough conversation with someone you trust to shut up and shut up hard. But don't overlook the most strategic move. Building a tight, loyal inner circle before things go bad. People you vet, people you train with, people who owe you, or better yet, who stand to benefit from keeping you safe. This is your human firewall. You're not just protecting your food, you're protecting your secrecy, your deterrence, your ability to blend in as a ghost when everyone else is turning desperate. Because in the end, you can build a fortress. You can stockpile 2 years of supplies. But if someone spills the wrong sentence at the wrong time to the wrong person, all of that becomes a giant red target. So tighten your circle now. Audit your past. Teach your household the phrase, "We're just getting by like everyone else." And repeat it until it sounds like gospel. Because the scariest knock at your door might come from someone you once trusted. And when it does, you need to be ready to answer with silence. Or a plan that leaves no questions asked. 1. Lock down your inner core. The final line. They can't cross, even if everything else fails. Now we're stepping into the part almost nobody ever thinks about until the exact moment they need it. Your inner core defense. I'm talking about the last zone, the last fallback, the last space in your home where you and your family can survive even if every other layer has been breached. Because here's the uncomfortable reality. If things get bad enough, if you're dealing with organized looters, desperate squatters, drugged-out wanderers, or straight-up predators who smell weakness like wolves smell blood, then you need more than a hardened front door. You need a place inside your own house that doesn't fall, even if the rest of the structure takes damage. Think of it like the Citadel rooms used by diplomats and intelligence personnel in hostile countries. Rooms specifically designed to buy time, absorb chaos, and give you the one thing looters can't fight against: delay. The core of this concept is simple but absolutely critical. Your safe zone must be hidden, layered, and built to keep you alive for hours, not minutes. During the South African farmhouse invasions reported between 2017 and 2024, the households that survived did so because they had secure interior rooms with reinforced doors and backup supplies inside the house. Not in the garage, not in the pantry, deep inside the structure. That's what you need to replicate. Start with the door. Most interior doors in U.S. homes are hollow core, meaning they might as well be cardboard. Replace the door to your chosen room with a solid core door, 75 to 90 pounds of actual compressed wood. Reinforce the strike plate. Add a steel door frame sleeve. Add a foot-level kickstop. Suddenly, a door that could be smashed in 10 seconds becomes a door that takes 3 to 5 minutes to breach. That's the difference between panic and control, between a firefight and an escape window, between being overrun and staying alive. But here's where it gets aggressive. Your safe core must sustain you in silence. That means water stored in low-profile, soundless containers, food that doesn't require cooking, protein bars, nut butters, freeze-dried meals that don't smell. It means having a charged power bank, not a generator. It means having a backup comms plan, handheld radios, a burner phone, or a silent text-based device like a satellite messenger that doesn't light up your whole room. And above all, you need medical supplies in that room. Not a cute first aid kit, a trauma kit, Israeli bandages, tourniquets, blood-stopping agents like Celox or Quick Clot. Because when looters attack a home, injuries happen in the first 90 seconds. And if someone in your house gets wounded, you need to stabilize them before you ever think about extracting or negotiating. Then there's the psychological layer, the part nobody wants to admit matters. If you're stuck in that core room, listening to people ransack your home, break furniture, shout, laugh, or try to break through your last barrier, your mind will go places you aren't ready for. You need a plan to keep your household calm. You need assigned roles. Who handles barricading? Who handles communications? Who handles medical? Who watches the secondary exit? And yes, you need a secondary exit. A window with a rope ladder, a crawl space panel, even a pre-cut drywall escape route into a closet on the other side. The IDF calls this internal mobility, and it's saved more civilian lives in urban raids than any amount of firepower. Because here's the truth. The looters may get through your yard. They may get past your first door. They may get into your living room. But if you've built your inner core right, they will never get you. They'll hear silence. They'll see resistance. They'll get frustrated, panicked, paranoid. They'll give up. And when they do, that room becomes your base, your brain, your survival zone, the heart of a house designed not just to keep people out, but to keep your family breathing when the world outside has gone feral. That's the final line. And if you build it right, it's the one line they will never cross. Look, by the time looters are outside your window, it's too late to start prepping. This isn't theory. After Hurricane Katrina, over 1,400 homes were looted in the first 5 days, even in neighborhoods with visible damage. After the Texas grid collapse in 2021, it only took 36 hours before local police reported organized theft rings going door to door, targeting homes with backup power. You don't get a warning shot. You get a knock you weren't ready for, and if your home isn't hardened, hidden, and mentally fortified, you become the supply chain. So here's what you need to do next. Go through every point we just covered and take action today. Not this weekend. Not when it's more convenient. Because convenience is what people chase right up until they lose everything. Lock down your perimeter. Kill your light signature. Hide what you have. Vet your circle. Build your core. And once you've done all that, stay quiet. Because survival doesn't go to the loudest or the strongest. It goes to the one who's already 3 steps ahead while everyone else is still waiting for the power to come back on. Subscribe if you haven't already. because this isn't the last threat coming.